And tonight, we've obviously been talking a lot about careers and going to bosses and all this sort of stuff. So I'm going to be doing a lesson on creating a life-changing resume. Okay, so Ephesians chapter 4, verse 11 says, Christ himself gave the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the pastors and the teachers to equip his people for works of service, so that the body of Christ may be built up until we reach unity in the faith and in the knowledge of the Son of God and become mature, attaining the whole measure of the fullness of Christ. So part of my role as an evangelist is building your life up, and whatever that means. For Kerry, it may be overseeing the older sisters to help the marriages and everything like that. But one of the areas I want us to really focus on today is creating a life-changing resume. Why? Your resume determines your destiny. But most people don't realize that. So I've been in the field of recruitment for many years. I've worked for many companies. I've done blue-collar recruitment, white-collar recruitment, executive recruitment, headhunting, internationally recruitment. I've been an employer, so I've employed many different people, from managers, sales managers, national sales managers, etc. So this is an area of expertise that I have outside of being an evangelist. And I think it's important for anybody in the church, if they have a skill set, to then pass that down, whether it's a song leader or whatever it is. So today I'm going to be teaching on a resume. So the first thing I need to address for most people is you've got to have a change of mindset when it comes to your resume. Proverbs 14:12 says, there is a way that appears to be right, but in the end it leads to death. So it's an interesting fact that the younger you are, the more sure you are of what you know. And then the older you get, the more you realize you knew nothing. So most people at the beginning of their career go, I know how to flat write a resume. I've watched a YouTube video on it and I must be true, and Wikipedia says this and it must be true. But knowledge without experience is lacking. So you may think you know what an employer is looking for. Yet, an employer nearly always does not think like you. And as most of you have never been an employer, you really don't know what you're talking about. Okay? I think if you're using a recruitment agency to get a job, and you've never been a recruitment consultant, how can you know what they are looking for? In other words, you don't have the experience. You don't see things from their point of view. You see things from your point of view. Yeah. For them, it's not a personal interaction like it is for you. It's a professional interaction. They do not feel anxiety or butterflies when they meet you on your resume. They're not interested in your feelings or your dreams. They are not looking for a life-changing experience like you are. People often put on their resume things like, I feel like I'm a good worker. They don't care. All right? Because that doesn't mean you are a good worker. It just means you feel like you are, and you could be completely self-deceived. So, they do not care about you personally. They're only looking at you as a product. For many people, that's really, really hard to take. They're looking for you to fix an issue, to fill a role, or fill a need that they have been employed to do. If you don't meet their expectations or criteria, they will move on to another person's resume quickly, really quickly. So in an interview, you may go, well, the guy may go, well, you said this on your resume. Well, that's not what I meant. When it comes to just the resume stage, you don't have the opportunity to do that. So if it's not on the resume, you miss your opportunity. If you master having a resume, and a brilliant one, it will change your career and your life. And yet most people rarely work on their resume until they're actually looking for a job. So if you start off with a high quality resume and then build on it, then it will just become better and better and better. But if your original one isn't very good, then whatever you build on is not going to be very good. If you do not sell yourself into that need, expectation, or criteria, then it's on you, not on them. And yet so many people who don't get a job go, well, my recruiter or that company didn't understand me. You're right. They didn't. But it's not on them. It's on you. So I'll give you an example. As a recruiter, all right, so I worked in recruitment office at all sorts of different levels. I would put adverts out on different mediums like Seek on a Friday night. And I would come in on a Monday morning and I'd have my first in-face interview maybe at 9 a.m. So I'd come in at 8 and I would have to go through 150 resumes in 1 hour. I would look at every resume for no more than 3 seconds. That's it. Click, didn't see what I want, click off. Now you've spent hours on your resume, all right? But if I don't get out of it what I want in 3 seconds, I'm going to move on to the next one. Why? Because I can. Because I've got 149 more to do. So the emphasis is on you writing an excellent resume. As a recruiter, I would personally just look at job titles, companies worked for, length of stay, and I would only print out maybe 6 of the 30 to 100 resumes I get. So I'd be there going, right, print, and then after 55 minutes I'd go and get the 6 resumes, put them in a pile, go off to my first interview, go, right, that's who I'm going to look at that day. That's it. So you see how that puts the emphasis on you to make a great resume. If you think that they're going to go through your resume like you do, that doesn't happen. Okay? As an employer, a little bit different. I was looking for somebody special, something different, something out of the ordinary, and looking to find someone I'd like to work with every day. A kindred spirit that was more important than their skills, because I could train them in their skills. So as an employer, as opposed to a recruiter goes, I need to present to a company what they tell me I need to look for. As the employer, I'm going, do I even want to hire this person? All right, so when I was a recruiter, you would shortlist, the company would pay you a lot of money to find a person in a job, sales manager, whatever it is. And as a recruiter, the way we would do it is we give 3 candidates. The first one was the second best. So they would interview that person, go, I think so. The second one was the best. And they go, yeah, not the first one, the second one. And then the third one was normally a dud. So after they interview the third one, yeah, it's definitely the second one. And that was a sales technique to get a placement. Yet sometimes the third one, the dud, would get the job. And I'd be like, he can't even do the job. He'd go, yeah, but he's a Queensland supporter. No kidding. This guy got a job. He goes, he supports the Swans, and we're all Swans mad here. So the skills, I know he doesn't have them, but we'll train them up on that. Literally. See, people employ people. They don't employ resumes. So at that stage, as an employer, I'm looking if the resume shouts out to me that they were married. Why? Married people tend to stay in a job longer. All right? They're more stable. Have they got a mortgage? If they've got a mortgage and they don't like the job for a month, they'll still turn up because they've got a mortgage. Okay? What interests do they have on their resume that distract them or add value, like sports achievements? Okay? So if they're a rugby player, presently I go, he could get injured. I'm not sure if I want him as a sales manager. Okay? Yet if they ran a marathon, and this is before I ran marathons, I would always interview someone whether they were relevant or not. Because a person that can know how to run a marathon has character. That means they can persevere, they can train. So I'd interview, it doesn't matter what job it was for. If there was a marathon runner, I would actually interview them. So you understand in the church, when we build character, we do half marathons for mercy and stuff, that's building your character and building your career. All right? So you see that the need for you to know how to sell yourself to the recipient of your resume is key. And you've got to start from them backwards, not you. So most people start writing a resume and go, this is what I want to put on a resume. Well, you can put whatever you want. But you've got to think of it from either a recruiter or a company's point of view. What do they want you to put on? All right? So basically, the only thing they really care about is filling that job with someone who can and will do it well and not leave the job. That is why the length of stay you have in a company or the similar job experience is free. So if somebody stays in a job 3 years, you go, they're most probably going to stay with me 3 years. Okay? So as we get into it, so for example, you may have a job for 3 years and then one for 2 months and then one for 3 years. I just leave out the job for 2 months. Just leave it completely out. Okay? So one of the other things we've got to understand is statistically, most people say that 60% of jobs are gained through an existing relationship. Now, add into that at the bottom end, most jobs are your mum got you when you were 14, okay? And at the top, most managing directors are pinched and networked. They're not actually advertised for. Okay, so the example, James Keogh has got a job through his father in a department he has absolutely no experience in. Okay, Ian Clegg got a job from his old boss. So he moved to Brisbane, moved back to Sydney. His boss saw him on Facebook and then phoned him and said, do you want to come and work for me? Cavendish has been recommended through a job through Danny, who is Len and Kira's friend. So through a church relationship. Megan, older, who leads our church in Brisbane, is good friends with my daughter Ali. She worked at Sydney Uni, all right? They literally said, who do you know could fill in this other job? Megan was in America. They never even met her. She said, does this woman have the same character as you, Ali? She said, yes. And they employed her before they even met her. Okay, so what does that tell you? Relationships are really important. Okay, so as you learn to be a better Christian, you learn to fulfill your career as well. The other 40%, 20% are got directly through companies' advertising. So Suncorp Insurance advertises itself, you apply for it, and it goes straight to there. The other 20 is through recruiters. Okay, and my speciality in recruitment was taking people that wrote resumes badly, that weren't getting employed. So they may be a technician, or they may be somebody that's a chemist. And because they're a chemist, they don't know how to write a resume. I would see the resume, go, they're perfect for the job. I would then go and rewrite their resume, present it to the company, they go, where'd you find this person? Well, they were already on my database, but their resume was terrible. Okay, so that was my speciality. All right. So you need to have your resume with as many recruitment agencies as possible. So just explain to you how databases work. So most of you go and you go on something like Seek and you go, well, that's with the company I want to apply to, but I'm not qualified for it. Who cares? Apply for the job. Yeah. Why? Your resume goes onto the database. So if I have a job on Seek, it used to cost me $150 for an advert. Okay? So you can have that advert on there for a month. So if I had that advert on Friday night, and then I got everybody I wanted to interview on the Monday, I'd still leave it up for a month and get as many resumes as possible. At the end of the month, I would just press, right, move them all into the database. Okay? Because that's knowledge, that's money for me. Then when I went to fill another job, before I put an advert up on Seek, I would go into my database. And I would look for people so I wouldn't have to spend money on advertising. Okay, so that means out of, say, 300 people that I applied for that job, I may have only looked at 10. The rest I've never even looked at their resume. So then I would do a word search and go, hey, I've got these people, which means I wouldn't have to spend money on advertising. You're like, I can't apply for a managing director job in the company I want because I'm not qualified. You've missed the point. It is an opportunity to get your resume on that database. Okay, so say you're in construction and you go onto Seek and it has construction managers, project managers, electricians, etc. You just need to apply for every single job. I remember, so I used to work in an open plan office of 40 people. And this is how I got one of my biggest clients. We're sitting there and we're in customer service. That's our main thing, sales and customer service. And one of the ladies, we have 40 people in the open plan, said, nobody knows a chicken plucker, do they? I've got this crazy company that's phoning me up for a chicken plucker. And I go, well, I used to be a chicken plucker. I did, actually. Okay. And I go, I'll take the job. Because I'm just, you know me, I sniff out any business anyway. So I talk to this guy, and I go, well, actually, I used to be working in a chicken company and stuff, and I'm doing high-end sort of management roles here, but I'm not using any opportunity. I speak to him, and then in the end, I end up putting all of his top management in, etc., over like 3 or 4 years, and building this great relationship to the point where he would take me out to lunch and treat me and everything like that. But that came through relationships and the recruitment. So literally, if I'm sitting there advertising for a receptionist, and I get a managing director, I will just say, anybody need a managing director? Yeah, I'll take a managing director. So you understand that if you don't understand how recruitment agencies work, you will only apply for a small amount of jobs that you think you are applicable for. You need to put your resume on any database you can have, all right? Anything at all. And that gives you the best opportunity to actually get the jobs. So I know when Chris Gazzard was here, he got a job interview. This guy phoned him up and just out of the blue for a job. When he went to the interview, he realized he had applied for a job a year beforehand, completely forgotten about it. This guy had found his resume, and then he'd actually interviewed him for the job. So if you have an excellent resume and it's out there the whole time, it is working for you while you sleep. Yeah. Wow. That's what you don't understand. Most people go, all right, I just need to apply for a job when I need one. I would be applying for a job as soon as I got a job. I'd apply every week, nearly every week, just for a new job. Because it's building my career. I'm in a job, but you need to get it out there as much as you can. All right. One note though, on meeting criteria of certain companies or organizations like government and other specific employers, they have a different way of recruiting. So while many of the principles that I'm going to be sharing in this lesson are true when applying to any type of employer, there are some institutions that have a strict way to apply for a job. So it doesn't work. Some of these institutions are heavily biased towards political correctness, internal mandate policies such as the government or councils or educational institutions. For these type of employers, only applying a certain way with certain wording or cultural aligning will be accepted. Okay, so I put in here, the best thing to do is use Google to search. So I searched today, applying for a job in New South Wales government. Okay, so then Google tells you how to do it. Then I clicked on the line, all right, and here it goes, applying for a job. And down the bottom it goes, how we recruit. So if you don't apply with a resume how they tell you to, then it doesn't matter if you use a commercial resume, it won't work. So this can be very time consuming and frustrating, and why in the commercial world, why I actually never dealt with government, etc., because I'm not admin based naturally, and I just go for the companies that you can speak to face, because some of this they go, well, you need to do this and you need to do this, and I know one of the councils said, well, because in order to win contracts, we have to have a certain amount of recycle within what we use. We use recycled pencils and recycled pens, and that allows us to do projects with a green company. So if they don't see that on the resume, they're like, if you don't say I'm green friendly, you won't get the job. But there's no way on this planet that you would know that unless you go into those organizations and find that out. So it can be consuming and frustrating. You will need to apply yourself to learning how they want to be approached. There are actually TAFE courses that you pay for to get a job in the government. Why? These types of jobs and careers often give the most consistent, secure job, but they also give incredible salary package benefits. So your superannuation can be 18%, 21%, which is why everybody's going for them. So it is an aspect where you have to really, really learn how to do it. But long term, when we're talking about building careers, it is something that you should look at. Right? So point one, the purpose of a resume. The purpose of a resume. The purpose of an initial resume is to get you an interview. Nothing more and nothing less. If your resume does not get you an interview, guess what? It won't lead to a job. All right? Like it or not, employers will usually make a judgment about your resume in the first 3 to 5 seconds. So if it does not grab them and stand out, no matter how good you may be at a job, you will never get the opportunity to prove that. Under this time frame, the most important aspect in your resume will be the titles that you list on the resume. And you need to make sure that they grab attention. So the number one thing, and you'll see this in the example of the resume, is most people put their name at the top, where they live, okay, and then they put their education, often including high school, junior school. If you've got a bachelor's degree, nobody's interested in that. Yeah. Okay, so it's taking up space on a resume that they're looking down and they go, bored. All right, so if you've got a master's and a bachelor's, that's all you need to put. But the thing that people don't put, which everybody's looking for, is your achievements at the top. Which is, if I've got 10 resumes and they're all of a project manager, I want to see which is the best one. So you'll go, well, I need to tell them I'm a project manager. Believe me, if they see that halfway down the page, project manager, and you're applying for a project manager, they know you're a project manager. Okay? What they want to know is are you a good one? And that is about achievements, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Then it's followed by the top 3 job titles, and these should be in bold. So if I see achievements, ran a marathon, raised $200,000 for a charity, project manager, project manager, project manager, that's my 3 seconds I've printed off the resume. You're worried about all the tiny little content, and we'll get into that, okay? But that's what needs to scream out at people, okay? Note, even with your address, it can help if you say you are willing to move. So, right, if you're in Ryde and the job is in Cronulla, they're not interviewing you, right? But if you put your address presently in Cronulla, looking to move, they may interview you, okay? Keep your resume to 1, maximum 2 pages, because if they don't read the first page, guess what? They're not going to read the second page. Less is more when it comes to an initial resume. If they cannot see what they want on page 1, they're not going to go to page 2. You can always take a more fleshed out resume to the in-person interview. So actually, the one I use for an interview, like to get the job, and the one I take with me would be very, very different. And I'd walk in my hand and go, here's my full resume. Oh, thank you very much. I thought it was a bit light. All right. Try to be as factually descriptive as possible, giving the employer a good idea about the nature of your past work experiences. Bullet points are best, not long paragraphs. So if I see a paragraph, I go, not reading it. All right, but if it's boom, 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 5 points, then I go, oh, he does this, 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 thank you. So you've got to write it in the way that people read it. All right? Sell yourself. This is the big one that people do not do. Sell yourself, which is exactly what they expect you to do and want you to do. No false humility. So you go, I'm a Christian, I just need to be humble. You are in the world. Okay? You go, yeah, well, I'm not very good, I've got low self-esteem and God is great. No! You laugh, but honestly, some of you, you're like, I'm going to pray and fast, and that's going to make it happen. All right? Okay? You need to go in there and sell yourself. On your resume, for example, do not simply list what you did in a job. So if you're applying for a receptionist job and you've done a receptionist job, they already know the job description. They don't need you to regurgitate it, okay? Or a project manager, they know what a project manager is. So if you go, I want to make sure they know that, we use high-vis. They know that, or you'll get thrown off the construction site, okay? You've got to list how good you are. So let me give you some examples. So if it's a reception, instead of answering calls on reception, well, if your job is a reception, they know that. So you need to sell yourself. So you might say, handling high volumes of calls under extreme pressure while constantly remaining joyful and an excellent ambassador for the company. Now, who do you want to employ? I answered phones or that one? Okay. Instead of running large projects, sell yourself. Running projects in excess of $60,000, always coming in before deadlines and under budget. Now I want to employ you. Tell them how good you are. Do not simply list the job description they already have in mind. As long as you don't oversell the truth, put in all best marketing efforts to give your resume and its contents, design, delivery method, and so on, give you an advantage over the other candidates. So they're going to go, they're all project managers, now which one will make me money? And that's what they're looking for on the resume. It's about proving to the reader that you are excellent in your job, more so than any other candidates applying who just list the job opportunities. So that's the bit most people, I'm a salesman by nature, that's what I got trained in, so I know how to sell. Recruitment is actually a sales job, it's not a HR job. And so that's what you become good at. You have got to figure out in your resume, one you have at the moment, does it sell you like crazy? And so you've got to sit there and you've got to, get an iron on iron with people and go, were you impressed with what I just said? No. So who would you employ? Sarah or Yvette? Yvette, because she said she was this and this. Okay, but we have the opportunity as Christians to help each other. Use a thesaurus. You know what a thesaurus is? No. Okay. It's a book where, or you can get it on an app, where you look up a word and it gives you 50 more words just like it. So change the bland words in your resume for exciting and descriptive ones. Instead of, I did this, I achieved this. Instead of, I managed 4 people, I energized 4 people. So to give you an indication, I spoke at the Chicago conference. I spent 1 hour preparing my sermon and 14 hours going through every word to make sure it was the correct word. Now that's for one important lesson. Your resume is going to determine the rest of your life. So you need every single word to be amazing. Every single one. And then all you need to do is add the next job to it when you do it. Okay? You basically get the principle. Proverbs 16:21. The wise in heart are called discerning, and the gracious words promote instruction. This is a good one. Have a section at the bottom with words to help be selected with a word search from a database. For example, so you have the 2-page essay, right? Or the 2-page resume. And at the bottom, not at the top, and this is about learning how to use databases, you put words that would make your resume be picked up. So, for example, if you were a project manager, okay, and you work for 2 companies, I would put at the bottom of it, I would love to work for, and then I would put the exact names of the top 20 construction companies I would want to work for. Why? Well, if I'm recruiting for Layton's, all right, and they said, we really want somebody from our sister company, Tees, I'm going to put the word Tees into my database. So if you've got Tees on the bottom, your resume is going to come. You've never worked for Tees. But the fact that he's having to use a database means he's trying to find somebody that's hard to find. So if you then pop up and goes, well, he hasn't worked for him, but I see he's worked for another company, then you get an opportunity to be chosen for a job that normally you wouldn't have. If you wanted to work for a pet company, okay, my son works for a pet company, really great career, and I'll talk about that more in a minute. You could put at the bottom of your resume that you are knowledgeable about, and then you could list the top 20 brands of animal food by going to a pet store, like one of those big barns, Pet Barn or something, and put it there. Because in the company they'll go, well, I really like somebody that knows about this type of dog food and that dog food. So they'll type that in, and your thing pops up. So again, it's about learning how to use your resume to give you the best chance of being called on by other people. All right, so actually building the resume. So there's a lot more to having a good career, right? Building a resume. Here's some top tips. 1 page, maximum 2. So what am I talking about here? Well, if you're fresh out of university, you've had 3 jobs at Mad Mex and McDonald's, etc., 1 page will do, okay? However, you have some people who go, man, I've got 50 years experience and I want to let them know everything. Believe me, if I'm interviewing a 50-year-old, I really want to know the last 10 years. Okay, so you could put other jobs will be talked about. All right. List achievements at the top. This is the thing that really I would put in there that made me successful as a recruiter. I would sell their achievements. Because on the phone when I talk to my client, I'd sell their character. Okay. Australia, Martin Luther King once said, I want to be in a country where people will be judged not by the color of their skin, but the nature of their character. I think Australia is about as closest to that culture as you can get. Because, does he work hard? Yeah. Well, I want him then. Does he come in early? Yeah. Okay. That's what they're looking for. Use facts and figures to justify your achievements. Make your achievements relevant to the job where possible. If not, sell your character. So if I'm working with like a 21-year-old, they'll go, oh, I've done nothing. Okay. You go, all right. Well, did you ever play chess? Yeah. Any good at it? Yeah, I won the school competition. Right. Won school competition out of 2,000 students at this school. That's an achievement. All right. Did you sing in a choir? Yeah. Did you ever sing anywhere important? I said, yeah, I sang in St. Paul's in London. All right. So that's both these things I did when I was a younger man. So they were on my resume. All right. I passed music exam flute to grade 5, and there were only 8 grades. Okay, I only had 2 more to go. Grade 3 in cello. Okay, achievements. More substantial as you get older, and this is, again, you've got to think about selling yourself. Raised $30,000 for charity, including running marathons. Was part of a group that fundraised $27,000 for charity in 3 weeks. You can all put that down. Every single one of you. That's it. You did what? How'd you do it? Selling balloons. What? Selling balloons, 27,000? That's more than my son makes. Do you understand? These are significant achievements that put you ahead. All right? So you take a holiday instead of just, I know, sitting in Wollongong, you go to Samoa and work for a charity in Samoa. This is how we're trying to build your life. All right? Tailor-make your resume to the job you want. So some of you are like, okay, I just want to get a job. But once you've got a job, what's the real job you want? So this takes some extra effort to work on and to apply. So if my son works in a pet store, okay, pet barn, I don't know what he's on, like just under 100,000, 80,000, something like that. This is a good career. How do you get it? Luke's a musician. He's a professional musician. He has a dog. He walks dogs. His dog. That's how it started. However, when he went in there, he looked at all the food and everything and went back and researched it. And so in the interview, he was very knowledgeable. If you can be a manager of a pet store, and again, we'll talk about companies, but the reason they pay so much is because you pay so much for dog food and it doesn't cost that much to make. If I wanted a career in a pet store, the first thing I would do is, and I got no experience, I would knock on doors close to me and go, I want experienced dog walking. Okay, can I please walk your dog? Then I would walk people's dogs for free. And I would take pictures of them, and I'd get some sort of social media or a little website saying dog walker. And I'd build that up for 3 or 4 months. And I'd walk other people's dogs. Then once I'd done it for 3 or 4 months, I would start charging. All right? And I looked up, jobs that pay more than $50 an hour. Dog walking. Wow. You can charge $20 an hour, walk 5 dogs an hour. You walk 5 dogs for an hour on Saturday morning twice, and twice in the afternoon, $400 a week. That's an extra $1,600 a month. Anybody can make special contribution like that. But then I'd walk dogs. Then I would offer myself free to work Saturdays in a store like Pet Barn. Now I've got experience. I just want experience. I work for free. Well, what manager doesn't want to work for free? All right. Now on my resume, I've got all the experience. So then I just apply to their competitor, easy to get a job. Does that make sense? So if you actually go, this is what I want, you can really hone in on that. Put other things. Put experience in order of relevance, not order of date. So typically, a resume person will tell you, oh, you've got to put it all factually. That's because they're an administrator and they don't understand necessarily how human emotions work. So when I came out of the ministry in 2003, I'd been a recruiter twice, and then I'd been in the ministry for 10 years. So my resume was minister for 10 years, recruiter. I wasn't getting any interviews. I was really discouraged, and I was applying for recruitment. And I thought, hold on, why? I wonder what it is. It's basically because they went, you're out of touch, you've been a minister for 10 years. All right? So what I did on my resume, I put the 2 recruiting jobs at the top and put 2 years and 2 years, and minister down the bottom, 2 years. I didn't put the dates, I just put the amount of time. I started getting interviews like that. Because in their mind, they thought my last 2 jobs was as a recruiter. Now, I didn't lie on the resume, I sold myself. Once I got the interviews, I started getting jobs. Okay? So the purpose of a resume is to get you an interview and nothing more. Okay? I put the number of years, not the dates. Even leave dates off if you're young. Okay, so if you go high school and then this and this, people go, yeah, I can figure out he's only 17. So just take all the dates off. Do not put too many jobs on your resume if you're older, unless your career flows naturally. okay? Because it's just, I know you want to tell them your whole life story. They're not interested, okay? Outline the most important and relevant experience at the top. So like I said, I put the recruitment jobs at the top and then the ministering job at the bottom. Then I had this I was still struggling to get interviews, and I went for an interview with a recruiter. And I was opening a magazine, all right, that was for recruiters while I was waiting for the interview. And I saw this advert, and the magazine was 6 months old, all right? And it was an advert for a recruitment company. I think it was Manpower. And it said, recruitment consultant wanted. And I went, so I took it, and I maybe asked them for a photocopy, and I applied for the jobs. Now, this job had been advertised 6 months earlier. And it literally said, we are looking for a person that does this, 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 this. And on my resume, I changed my whole resume, and instead of putting achievements, I put, I have done this, 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 this. And I just literally regurgitated word for word the advert. They phoned me up immediately and gave me an interview. And I even got the job. And they said, where did you find this advert? We've not advertised for 6 months. I said, well, I found it in this magazine and I thought I'd apply, and because I'm a recruiter and you need recruiters. They went, man, I'm so impressed by that. Wow. See, most of you go, that job's most probably gone. Okay, but it's about getting your resume out there. So you can tailor-make your resume to a specific type of job. Ways to make your resume stand out. Use their logo in your resume. So I helped Josiah Smith get his first job. He leads the AMS in LA. And he hadn't got many jobs or anything. So I said, well, this is what you do. So I did these career workshops in LA some time ago. And I said, if you want, he goes, I want to get into transport. I said, well, take your resume, and at the top of your resume, he got a job at TNT. Put the TNT logo at the top. Okay? He goes, why? He said, because then they'll think you used to work at TNT. All right? And so they saw it and went, well, we better employ him. And he went in and went, well, if you work for TNT? He said, no, I put it up there because I want to work for TNT. But you see, we look at things and we actually see what we want to see, not necessarily what is written. All right, so he basically went for all these jobs in transport, put the logo up and got interviews he said he got interviews for every single transport company that he applied for in Phoenix. All right, so pictures speak 1,000 words. Put all the logos of key companies that employed you on your resume. In other words, logos really stand out, okay? So if you're into phones and you put Apple and you put Samsung and whatever like that, they go, man, this guy's a phone guy, okay? But the words don't make it so much. Put into a relevant box. So other ways to get, and you're going to say this is corny, but this stuff works. So if you want a job with TNT, you actually go and buy a TNT box. And you put your resume in the TNT box, and you send it to the managing director of TNT. And so they open it because they think it's his box. All right? Other ways, you laugh, this stuff works. Other way is you mail your resume to the managing director with a cover letter. All right, so it's an official, it costs you like whatever, $30 from the post office. It's addressed to them, so it comes in official, it's delivered, so they open and go, I wonder what this is. So your resume is getting straight to the person you want it to. And you put a cover letter as to why you want a lifetime career with that company. And you'll get that all from the website. You go, the reason I've chosen your company to put my career into is you have been going 57 years, you have grown year on year on the stock market, this. You've already got the job. You've already got the job. Use slightly different colored paper. You go, well, I want to use pink with blue. No, okay. That's a white piece of paper. That's a cream bit. When they have resumes, if you still use it physically on a desk, they'll always pick the one that's a little bit different. Now, if you go pink with purple top, they'll throw that in the bin, okay? Unless it's for Smiggle or something, all right? Okay. But, so a little bit different. Okay, this is one I love, and I was taught this years ago by a guy called Bruce Morton, and it works. You're going to hate this one, okay? We would get resumes, we would put them in an envelope, and we would attach a Kit Kat to it and staple it. And on the envelope, we'd put, stop wasting your time with old resumes, read one that actually works. Or take a break and read a resume worth reading. Wow. All right? You know why they pick it up? For the chocolate. And I said, boss, that won't work. He said, let me tell you how it works, mate. Even if a guy doesn't open it up, he goes home and goes, you never what happened at work today. This guy was after a job. His resume was useless. But he had a Kit Kat. So I flat ate the Kit Kat. And his wife goes, really? You ate his Kit Kat and you didn't give him an interview? Go back and give him an interview. Do you see? We're talking about human emotions here. This is how life actually works. All right? Make it an A5. So sometimes you can make it a card. All right? Like that. So when they open it, it sits like that. But you have to know what you're doing. There is all sorts of printout things you can get to do that. Make it into a scroll with a ribbon. Right? This is for JJ. Okay. If you want to get a job at a games shop or a Dungeons and Dragons shop or something like that, you get a piece of paper, scroll like this. You get tea. All right, cold tea. You paint it. All right. Then you burn it around the edges. Then you roll it up and you put your resume on it and you go into the games workshop or Good Games and Dungeons and Dragons and you go in there into the manager. He goes, what's this? Opens up the scroll. 'Tis thy resume. Okay. All right. But what am I saying? To every type of person, there is a relevant way. To a managing director or to the games. But a lot of you guys just want part-time jobs while at university. Okay. So, other things, mention who you work with if it helps sell you. Okay, do not sell yourself short. All right, if you have served the King of England at a banquet, use it. Many of our Christians had served the Queen, etc. Okay, actually served the Queen. This guy's flat served the Queen of England. I'm flat going to interview him. All right, think about them. I used to interview people just for a laugh. I get bored this day. I go, this guy seems like a joker. I'm just going to interview him to enjoy it. See, you're thinking that doesn't happen. It happens all day. Okay, how many of you watch television that's complete rubbish? You go, I just want to see what the rubbish is. Okay, people do that, all right? Get exceptional written references to put with your resume. This hardly happens today, all right? If you actually get, like you work for TNT, it's got proper TNT and it's all the logo on there and it said from the managing director, etc. And you get people like, man, what makes you different? You have this incredible reference. And they're going to go, because part of getting a job is you offer the job and then they do references on you. So if you've already said that you've got this great reference, written reference, it'll help you get the job. Get someone to proofread your resume many times for spelling and grammatical help. You can also use the free Grammarly software. And you go, well, I've checked it and I've checked it and I've checked it. My first book that I ever released, okay, was edited by enormous amounts of people. And and then when it was released, we had exactly 2 paragraphs the same, and everybody had missed it. And I mean, this had been around the world, and we just completely missed it. So if you get used to reading your resume the whole time, you don't actually see the mistakes. So give it to somebody completely different. Other things that can help you. Create a fantastic LinkedIn profile and put the link on the resume. Make sure your only colleagues on your LinkedIn are impressive and in your industry. If you're a project manager, they all need to be project managers, okay? So that your mum, she shouldn't be on your LinkedIn, okay? All right? It's not Facebook. However, some of you need to really deal with your Facebook. In today's world, the first thing people check is your Facebook. And some of them are like, these are my pictures before I was a Christian, and now I'm a Christian, and honestly, some of those will stop you getting a job. Because people scroll down and go, this girl was drunk on a Saturday night. I bet you she won't even turn up for work on Monday. And that's exactly, you go, well, it's part of my history in my life. We're talking about how to build a career here. These are your choices, okay? So maybe you close that account down, keep all those photos, and open a professional one. So here is an example of a resume. So you put your name at the top. And then I've just seen an example here. Achievements, maybe education, work history, and order of relevance. So there are a few different things you can do, but there's a basic resume. You see how easy it is to read bullet points. Also, you'll see a link on how to build a resume. All right, so you can do it from scratch or there. Or you could go all the way and make a resume video. And I've given you 2 links here. I think when Paul recently left Fiji, there was a a video about, the Friends song and everything. It was like 2.5 minutes long. Man, you were, oh, that's so cool. These video resumes are downloading in 2 minutes everything you need to know about that person. Okay, so before you read my resume, click this. So remember, I'm there on a Monday morning. I don't want to be at work. I've got my coffee, and there's a chance to watch a video. What am I going to do? I'm going to click on the video, right? Because I don't want to plow through all these things. And I go, man, this is cool. And then I send it to my client, go, check this guy out. 2-minute video. He goes, 2-minute video. He's sitting there with his cup of coffee on a Monday morning. He's clicked the video. By 9 a.m., he's got his candidate. He's interviewing at 10. The guy's got the job. Wow. So is it worth doing? Yeah, it really is. But make sure it's exceptional. Other few last things. Make sure you're not sabotaging your chances of getting an interview. A couple of these are a little bit controversial. Do not put your photo headshot on unless you're an actor role or something. That will put some people off. I used to recruit salespeople in real estate, and they'd always put when they were 35 and good looking. All right, they'd take their age off and they'd walk through the door and they're 65, and I'm like, I'm going to my company, like, the people are in the reception, I'm looking for the guy I'm interviewing. I'm like, he's not here. He goes, oh, here I am. Okay, and I'm like, so very few people. The other thing is unfortunately, you are dealing with the world. Yeah. So people like your hair long, your short, they'll judge you on a whole load of things. So don't do yourself a disservice unless it's, you're properly into acting and stuff like that. Do not put irrelevant feelings on your resume. I feel like I'm a good employee. And means nothing. I feel I would make an excellent addition to your company. And they're not interested in your feelings. Avoid using pronouns like I, me, and she. Begin a section with a verb, all right? Something you do. Make sure your name does not make you sound like you cannot speak English. Very controversial. However, you may need to change your first name. The Chinese come in here, we can't pronounce the names. My name's Kevin from now on. Okay, you're like, and they do it, and they understand. But even when I first helped Cavendish get a job 10 years ago, I said, your whole name sounds Sri Lankan. You go, well, what's wrong with that? These guys are making decisions quickly. He has lots of Johns and Janes and a Cavendish. He goes, that guy may not even be able to speak English. I'm just going to go with the Johns and the Janes. That's a fact of life. So we changed his name to Kevin, okay? And so he would get more interviews because his name was Kevin. Because that's the way people think, all right? It shouldn't be the way people think, but it is the way people think, all right? So you have to do that. Do not put down English as an extra language spoken, all right? So foreigners go, yes, I speak perfect English, French, and Chinese. An English person doesn't put English down. You're already giving yourself away as you most probably can't speak English very well. All right. I don't put I speak English on my resume. I say I speak French, extra language French. But there are things like this that give people away. Why is it important? When I worked in the mining, this is where it became a big issue. So there was a company that employed a lot of people who's from a country where the English was half and half. And what happened was a manager had screamed down to his employees to do something. They didn't understand it, did something, an accident happened, and a man was killed. So throughout the mining industry, there was perfect English was a requirement, because not only did somebody die, but then their insurances went up, and it cost millions and millions and millions of dollars. So from their point of view, they're not being personal. They're like, you could cost me $10 million. And that's just a fact of life, okay? Take out where your education or jobs were, if not in this country. Okay, so if you've got 1 year project manager in Australia, all right, and then project manager in India and project manager in Dubai, you don't need to tell them it was in India or Dubai. You just put the first job up, worked in Australia, and just put project manager and project manager. That's all you need to do. Why? Because they're going, well, he hasn't got that much experience in Australia. Once you get on interview, you can give them a full resume, and they've already decided whether they want you to work for them or not. Okay, but that's going to stop you getting an interview. Make sure your email is Australian. All right, so at the end of most emails, it's .uk or .whatever. That gives you away too. So go and create a brand new email that finishes in .au. All right? These are all things people look at about not giving you an interview. Why? I've got 150 resumes. I can pick the best 6. So you've got to take away all of those excuses why they won't pick you. So creating a life-changing resume, it's a lot of hard work. But when you understand your destiny and your career is determined by it, it's worth the work. Purpose of a resume, just to get you an interview. I'll get you through the interview. That's the easy bit, okay? But I'll train you how to do that. I'll do another class on that. But building a resume, you've got to spend the time. Building a resume will most probably take you 20 hours. 20 hours to really review every word, every indication, to thrash it out, to go through these notes, to go and find the logos, to do this and do this. 20 hours could make your salary jump $50,000 in the next month. So I don't know how much that is per hour, but it's worth it. All right? So this is only the first stage of helping get a job. Your resume will be on databases for a long time, so make it great. Upload it to as many platforms, so I know you can upload it to like Seek and everything like now. Once it's up there, people can pay to go and have a look at it. Okay? That means it's what your career is being advertised for the rest of your life. All right? So how important to your destiny is a great resume? It's huge. So even if you're a student now, you want to do a lot of extra curricular things to put on there. Run a marathon. Do something for charity. Walk some dogs. Do that. But you want to start building your career now from the bottom up. Get your driving license. Do things. Because that all builds on that. That gives you the edge above everybody else. Then we will be a light to the world. People will look at us and go, I wish I had a career like yours. How did you get it? You go, you know what? I went to a church where we talked about building our lives because they love us. Would you like to come? They go, yeah, it sounds like a great church. And that's the lesson for tonight. Amen.
To hear more from Dr. Joe Willis, check out his 2 books on Amazon, The Art of Spiritual Warfare, Practicals for Becoming a Prayer Warrior, and Money is the Answer for Everything. Click the links in the description below. Also, for more life-changing lessons, subscribe to his YouTube channel, Dr. Joe Willis.